It's a beach.
Yeah.
Do we get numb at any point? Oh wow.
No.
Nope. I mean, think about how dangerous this sounds.
No, hey,
We've been through a journey. We have this question that we ask everyone.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Eli Haney, and this is Hot Ones and You. It's the show where we rip off a show with hot questions and even hotter sauces. Today, we are joined by Chrystal Helmcke, the Director of Academic Success and Advising here at Northwest University. Since receiving her Master of Arts in Theater Arts from Western Washington University, Chrystal has been teaching, directing, and creating for many theatrical programs and organizations, including Seattle Children's Theater, Stage 1, Louisville's Theater for Young Audiences, Taproot Theater in Seattle, YMCA After School Enrichment Program, All the Arts for All the Kids, Odyssey of the Mind, and nearly 16 years here at Northwest.
Yeah.
She is a Washington native through and through and a brilliant and creative mind, and NU is lucky to have her. Chrystal, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Eli.
Before we get started, how do you typically do around spice?
I like a little spice. I'm a big fan of Thai food. Love lots of different South American foods. I mean, most commonly known Mexican, but I definitely have a threshold, and unlike my husband, who really likes spice, he'll take himself a scoop of wasabi just so that he can feel the visceral effects. Yeah. I'm not quite. I'll dip in the wasabi.
Okay, but you know, you're experienced a little bit.
A little
so,
bit.
You know, the Thai food, on a Thai food scale, where do you usually,
If I'm
1 to 5?
Yeah,
where do you usually-
I'm usually a solid 3, and
Okay.
occasionally if I'm feeling frisky, I'll do a 4.
Oh, okay, you know, that's pretty good, I'd say.
Let's
I'd
see.
say.
And how do you do around spice there, Eli?
I do pretty good.
Do ya?
Like I'm no superhero, but
Okay.
I'm
You'll
all
take
right. I can get through it.
You'll jump down. Okay.
All right, cheers.
Cheers. There's some flavor.
Yeah, let us know what you think.
A little tingle.
Mm-hmm.
A little clearing out of the
Oh, yeah.
sinuses, but not bad. Good.
Good.
Nice.
Okay, so jumping into our first question. With nearly everyone that I asked and everywhere I looked, I was told and found that you were an avid paddleboarder. Is this something that you do alone? Is this something you do with people? Is this, both? And, maybe what is it
How'd
about
this happen?
paddleboarding? Yeah.
Or what is about it? Yeah. So I am with people by myself. And fun fact related to NU, I got started with a former professor, Dr. Renee Bordeaux,
Oh, yeah.
in the Comm Studies program. She and I both started full time the same year, and so good friendship started. And I think our second summer, we both had said to each other, really want to try paddleboarding. So I bought us a Groupon, and we went down to Juanita Beach in the summer, and we each fell in once, but only once. And we got done with that. It was like, an hour session, rented the paddleboards, and we were like,
This is it.
this is our jam.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is it. So then we went on this little, not quite a race, but she bought a paddleboard and I bought a paddleboard. Then she bought a second one for her husband. Then we bought a second one for my husband. Love it. I'm a water gal.
Okay.
Grew up around here, of course.
I am right with you.
Yeah. My dad was a fisherman. I've done some fishing, but anything that has to do with water. And I like fast water sports, water skied, been on the Sea-Doos, but paddleboarding is really my jam. Maybe it's this time of life, I don't know. But it's also super portable and not super expensive once you've kind of done the initial expense. So we have a lake that we live nearby, not on, I'd like to declare, but close enough that's got a couple of public beaches, so I go there. But we've paddleboarded on the Columbia River, on the Deschutes River down in Bend, up in Canada, Whistler, Alta Lake. So we're kind of a...
So you're experienced. You got it.
It's kind of a...
Well, I'm glad to hear you say, because I always tell people this too. I love water. Whether it's the shower, it's raining. I'm in a lake, the river, you name it. Water.
It's good for us.
Exactly. It cleanses the thirst.
Quenches the thirst, cleanses.
Hypothetically gets rid of the spice, but maybe not.
Yeah, hence the milk nearby.
So that's good. Do you I was gonna ask this, but I think you kind of answered it. Are you you have your clothes on and you paddleboard, or it's you're getting in the water if you're going paddleboarding?
That is such a classic question, and it varies. I think I always say to myself, man, I want to get out there and I can't wait to sort of jump off the board because I'm a swimmer too, so I love that. But we're also rule followers, so I haven't yet gotten myself just a nice slim flotation device belt, which and those even. I think I'd have to set it so that I don't want the cartridge to blow when I jump in the water when I hit the impact, right? But I'm often out there in my life jacket, and I could take it off and get it, but it always seems like more of a production to get in the water.
Yeah, it's a lot more.
Yeah, so probably more often I'm like, well, feet in the water, or if we're out there for a really long time, I'll take the life jacket off and dip in if it's really hot.
And then is it like a summer thing, or do you dabble in the winter, in the colder
Love
months?
that you asked that. So it's funny what with your spouse is what you set up. I'm mostly a fair weather paddleboarder.
Yeah.
And my husband is known to say, like, when February hits, he'll watch the temperature and he'll be like, hey, it's gonna be 65 tomorrow. One of those unusual February days. Want to get the boards out? I'm like, no, I don't. It's February.
Yeah, right.
And it's also laziness because in the summer we'll often inflate them. We have inflatable ones, and then just leave them inflated for a couple months. In the middle of the winter, I'm like, why the board's out, inflate them, take them out, back, clean them, and put them back.
Right,
so it's mostly laziness that I don't go out in the winter. But
no, that's fair.
No.
That's fair. All right, let's move on to the next sauce. All right.
Cheers. Ooh, there's some lime.
So this one is-
I'm feeling it.
You're feeling it?
Okay,
Good.
that was quick.
This one is 19,000 SHUs, whatever that means.
Okay.
That's the Scoville level. You're feeling it?
I'm
okay.
feeling it.
Okay, good. All right. Next question here. You're a Seattle native
I am.
and have likely seen a great deal of change within the city and surrounding areas. I feel like a lot of people like to point out the negative changes, but do you have any positive changes that maybe you've seen?
Yeah, okay, funny, related to paddleboarding. One of the first things that comes to mind is, we love the U District, University of Washington area, and down kind of on the Montlake Cut, that body of water, probably about 5 years ago, maybe longer ago than that, maybe 5 years ago, we discovered and I'm sure it's the university, but it could be the city, developed a stretch of beach that is and it's public, and so user-friendly, great place to launch a paddleboard, beautiful open view of the area, you can kind of look up and see the University Bridge, and so that's one really great improvement.
I actually think I know what you're talking about.
Just a little bit up from Aqua Verde, do you know that?
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah. I love, also great restaurant, by the
There
way.
we go, right?
Oh,
Speaking of spice.
Yeah.
Yep, so I would say that's a pretty cool improvement. Speaking of UW, I think many people may not know that Husky Stadium used to only have one side that was covered as a stadium, and so then when they built the second side in terms of in our inclement weather, I think, I don't know if this is improvement, but I would say some of the parks that the city of Seattle does a great job of maintaining that we love visiting. There's a theme here, all related to water. So I think Green Lake Park is a favorite spot to go to, and the city does a good job of keeping that up. Shilshole, which is out on Puget Sound, just off Ballard. Helmcke, my husband grew up in West Seattle, and so we just were seeing some news story that was talking about Helmcke being one of the best, not just Washington beaches, but West Coast beaches.
Oh, really?
Which I think is hilarious because we also lived for 5 years in California. And I'm like,
and you're like, there's no way.
So it's great for a city beach, but have you been to Huntington Beach?
Right,
Have you been? Yeah, I've got some favorite ones.
All right.
That's kind of fresh.
Yeah. Oh, it's good.
I don't know yet whether I'm worried that I didn't wear waterproof mascara. We'll see.
Yeah,
So far,
we'll see.
okay.
We'll figure it out by the end of this.
Yeah.
If it was a good call or a bad call. Okay, next question. Is it true that you aren't the biggest fan of musicals except for Come From Away and maybe a couple other ones? And why is that?
Yeah, I'm a little bit of a weirdo when it comes to theater and to musicals, or maybe I'm feeling that one. purist is not the right word, but I'm musicals, especially the big flashy ones to me, tend to focus on, and this is, it's not even just to me, they focus on the spectacle, and that's what sells. Totally get that some shows were about, we've got to recoup the cost, right? And it's about the popularity. But I often think that the storylines are pretty thin. So I come from a way, which I don't have to go too far into, but it's amazing. It's based on the real life experiences of people in the town of Gander, Newfoundland. Are you familiar with it? Have you heard of it?
Barely. Like, I brushed up on it for this.
Okay.
That's the type of...
It's extraordinary.
Yeah.
So the 9/11, all of the, let me get this direction right, all the westbound planes coming across the Atlantic that were coming to various parts of the U.S., when President Bush ordered American airspace closed, these were flights that were all probably 3/4 of the way across the Atlantic. And so because of fuel, they had to land somewhere. They couldn't turn around and go back. It was not possible. So they all were diverted to this tiny little town of Gander, Newfoundland, but the reason they went there is it had an airstrip and an airport that in the years before, the days of air travel before jumbo jets, planes had to stop there to refuel if they were making a transatlantic flight. So they had space, technically.
Right.
But and when they landed, of course, nobody knew how long they were going to be there. So it was almost a week, and the stories that came out of this experience of the passengers and the crew were just profound. They were welcomed. The town absolutely turned things upside down to host, and quite literally nearly doubled in size overnight. So people, like whole schools, turned into dormitories. And anyway, the music that was written for it and the storyline was just deeply moving and poignant. And so then I can get into it.
Right.
And any spectacle goes along with that. Supports it.
Sometimes that's kind of how I feel about horror movies, actually. Like,
yes,
like,
very
it's like
similar.
They're just going for the scare factor, and it's like a lot of times it's like jump scares or whatever. And it's like I don't really care because it's not a compelling story. But if they can do like a good story, then I can get into it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. And that's a great parallel. The horror genre is, it can be used as a vehicle to tell a really compelling story, or it can just be selling
like,
tickets.
Yeah, this is a horror movie, and it'll sell. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah,
That makes sense. I'm with you on that. All right, we'll go on to the next one.
Okay. See, 3 peppers on the side out of 5, but that doesn't tell me anything.
Yeah, what does that even mean? Who
Nothing.
knows? All right, cheers. So as far as
Oh no, this is gonna be a slow burn. I can already
this
tell.
is not even an official question, but as far as like non-cheese goes, that's like replicating cheese.
Yeah, most of it's terrible.
How do you think this is doing?
Oh, is that what this is?
Yeah, this is a plant-based queso.
Oh, this is fine.
Yeah.
And actually, I find that. Oh yeah, this is a slow burn now. It's starting. I'm feeling it.
This one's a little
Clearing out. Yeah, I think this is good taste. I wonder if this. Can I look?
Yeah, go for it.
I wonder if it's a cashew based, which is often.
I think it's was it?
Oh, nutritional yeast. Yep,
Yeah,
not a surprise. That usually is one of the better. And the replicating, I think in the world of veganism, when you're not trying to completely replicate a cheese with all of the flavor, all of the texture, if it's just sort of one element you're trying to replicate, companies do better.
Do better than trying to like actually.
The whole thing,
right.
most of that stuff is terrible, but
Well,
yep, feeling it on the tongue.
along those same lines, do you have any good recommendations for vegan restaurants in the area?
I have several. My all-time favorite restaurant, we had a party to celebrate a certain milestone birthday of mine. It's a place that has actually 3 locations, so it's like a mini chain. It's called Araya's Vegan Thai. There's actually one in Bellevue, but sorry, Bellevue, I think it's the least, the atmosphere's the least interesting.
Gotcha.
There's one in Madison Park area, that's my favorite. And then there's one in the U District on the Ave.
Okay.
100% Thai vegan restaurant, and the quality of the food is out of this world.
I feel like Thai food does such a good job at hitting vegan restaurants.
They do.
I have a lot of in my family, we have a lot of allergies and,
Yeah.
and dietary restrictions, some autoimmune diseases, like all the things. So I get it very well. We're always going to Thai food restaurants because they do a good job of, they can, like, they handle all sorts of dietary
They
restrictions.
totally do.
can
Rice-based stuff.
Yeah.
Non-dairy, because most of the creamy stuff is coconut milk. And
Yeah, so pretty much every time that my family goes out to eat, we go to Thai food. And if we don't, usually there's some sort of argument or something that leads
like we got to default back to the
this
Thai.
why do we try to do something different?
Why do we do this new thing?
Yeah.
Another favorite that is super good, it's a little higher end. It's in the Central District, just not too far from Seattle U, and it's called Plum.
Plum. I think I've heard of Plum.
Oh, it's so good. So it's if we're going somewhere, going for a special date, and the owner, the restaurateur, Makimi Howell. We also have one of her cookbooks. I got to meet her one night, which was super fun. My husband was kind of mortified because I just that's Makimi. I'm gonna go tell her thanks for her great food. He's like, okay, I'm gonna sit here. But she does really gourmet plant-based stuff. So if you want, if you have a foodie and you're thinking, I want to take them somewhere so they can appreciate something that's really high class, that's where I would take somebody.
That's the place to go.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. All right, here we go.
Down the hatch. Ooh, okay. Kind of feel it right off.
Yeah. But it definitely maintains that bourbon maple for sure.
Yep, touch of sweetness, just to fool you.
All right, so I don't know if you know this. I'm a pastor's kid, so
I didn't know that.
So
I have a couple pastor's kids.
Yeah. I've personally, seen some of the challenges and the beauties of being in a family of a pastor and being in ministry and all that. As a pastor's wife yourself, I'm curious if you have ever found it challenging to deal with some of the stereotypes that are often placed on a pastor's wife, whether it be the idea that they must be leading the women's ministry, or that they have to devote all of their time to the church, its congregation, and its every need. Or has it ever been an issue? Or what's been that kind of, is that a challenge you've ever experienced?
Yes and no. I will say, my husband's only served at 2 churches. And both churches, I have been really fortunate that the pastors' wives who were before me, either, so right now he's lead pastor, but up until the last couple of years, he's been associate pastor. So there's always been, lead pastor and spouse. And I've been so fortunate that those women have been role models of how to be integrally involved and a part of the congregation, but also know where the boundaries are. So that's been beautiful. I will also say, I've had experiences like, up to the 2 stories I'll share, found out from, one person to another, a choir member shared with another choir member, apparently quite acidly, that she was really annoyed with me because I never look at her, I never acknowledge her. I mean, and these are kind of the inflammatory words. And that's a horrifying thing to hear. And we didn't, it wasn't as if we had all these natural places we would cross paths serving on the same committee or same activities. So that, that one was a little salty just to, it wasn't even shared from the individual. So I'm not going to go talk to that person and say, oh, I heard that.
Right, because then that just further.
That exactly exacerbates it. The other one wasn't that long ago, and it was meant kind of sweetly, but when I share with you, you'll understand why it was also kind of horrifying. My husband is really good at not using like family stories too much as illustrations in sermons. And he's pretty good about checking or just knowing which ones are off limits. So he was sharing some story, I don't know what it was. I found out later a woman who I like really well came up to me and said, oh, when Kurt was telling that story and I looked over at your face, I thought, there's something wrong with this story. And I thought, what was I doing with my face? Like I'm just in service, I'm just listening to the sermon. But it was, even this, he's been a pastor for 30 years now, and just even the realization of like, I actually, in support of him, I need to be mindful of what I'm doing with my face during worship.
It's, and as a pastor's kid, like I can relate on that. It's like everyone, you got all eyes on you, there's like a certain level of pressure, but, it's not, but there's also, you got boundaries. And
it is what it is. That's the bomb.
All right,
That.
cheers.
Oh, yep, there it is.
Yeah, it's no joke.
There's no sweetness in this one.
All right, well, while it's going,
Uh-huh.
try and see if you can listen to this.
I'm gonna try.
There are a lot of skills that go into theater, obviously.
Yep.
From the cast to the crew and everyone involved: dancing, singing, acting, body language, stage presence, communication, memorization, organization, dedication, and so many more. But from your many years, being in and teaching in theater,
Yep.
are there any skills that just can't be taught, like that just have to come natural?
Oh wow, that's a fiery one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling it everywhere.
Yeah.
One of my kind of scholarly and artistic mentors, who I've never met, and she has since passed, but her great name, Uta Hagen.
Okay.
Okay, this is, wrote a book called Respect for Acting. And one of the things she notes in that is, I can feel little beads of sweat. This is putting me right over the edge.
Yeah, good.
Is that a lot of those things can be taught. But I think the people that are the most successful in acting and performance are people who come at it with a set of high sensory equipment. In other words, speaking of our physiological senses, people who are predisposed to a high level of awareness, what they see, what they hear, what they smell, taste, feel, and also even what they emotionally feel. The risk there, of course, is those kinds of things can be hard to manage as a person. And I often as a child was labeled overly sensitive, which was hard when I was younger.
Yeah.
And it was only when I kind of found my people that I thought, oh, I can embrace that. That's actually what helps me be good at something like theater. And I think that might be one thing that it's hard to, I feel like you can teach it, or you can get people, you can move the needle.
Forward.
Mm-hmm. But people also have to be kind of predisposed to want to do that. Otherwise, because it's vulnerable. When you start to be really aware of all those things, and my mouth is 100% on fire right now.
Okay, good. No, that's great. That's great. All right, you ready?
No, but I'm gonna go
But
anyway.
we're going for it anyway.
Cameras are rolling.
There it is.
Do we get numb at any point? Oh wow. Nope. Yep. When they hit, no sweetness in that one either.
No, this one is. Oh, I say it in every show. Yeah, I hate that flavor.
Actually, that one's not good. No, I agree. Not even tasty. Okay, so Crazy Monkey, not yet. Okay, wow.
All right.
Here we go.
So I'm curious about a story that I heard about a lost and found wedding ring in Port Townsend. Can you give us some more details about that?
This is the ring.
Okay, wait.
This is for real, the ring.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I'll see if I can keep this condensed. On the beach, maybe our first full day camping. Really familiar beach, go all the time. In our chairs, have the paddle boards with us, of course, that's got a feature.
Yep.
And putting on some extra sunscreen. And I don't like to get my ring gunked up.
Yeah, sure.
So often take it off, put the sunscreen on. Matters where you put it when you take it off. So we're those little sand chairs that have a little cup for the drink holder.
Mm-hmm.
Put it in there. Not realizing, wow, I'm feeling it on the sides of my tongue, right here. Not realizing that I did not put it back on. Rest of the afternoon, out on the paddle boards, go back to the campsite, wrap everything up, take a nap, get up, like, we're gonna go into town for dinner. No ring.
Yeah, where is it?
And immediately realized when I took it off. And like I'm feeling now with
It's
this.
just intense.
Still not, I'm not saying anything to my husband at this point. So very stealthily go, get the chair. Of course not, it's not in there.
Right.
And now what I'm imagining and picturing, so it's those like folding chairs. Imagine that yep, exactly. I fold it and I'm like, that ring just popped.
Launched.
Finally I tell him. So now it's an all out It's a beach.
Yeah.
So we go back and we're looking, nothing. We get our camping neighbors involved. There's people, you can't make this stuff
No,
up.
right.
They know of people or heard of people that are staying up in the upper campground who have metal detectors just for like hobbies.
Wow, yeah.
So they get involved, they're
Yeah,
searching.
everyone.
And I'm devastated. This is a whole nother story because there was another time where in the life of this ring, the setting fell out into the garbage disposal. So this is a newly recovered, repaired ring.
Yeah.
Go to sleep. So we go back out at night because we think, okay, let's take flashlights and maybe
Oh, yeah, like some reflection.
nothing.
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 They don't work.
So at that point, by the way, tides.
Yeah, right. And,
Tide had been mostly out. So tide's gonna come in.
Yep.
I mean, we're essentially giving it up for
Yeah.
loss. The next day, we're out in the same kind of area, and my husband says, okay, so we're looking through the camera, paddleboarding. He's like, let's try to identify where we were sitting based on
okay.
pictures we took from there.
Yeah.
I think we only had one paddleboard at the time, so we would take turns.
Oh, look at
So
that.
when either of us were out there, so then he's trying to, he's being very scientific about this.
Yeah.
What was the angle?
Where's the sun? All the
The
things.
whole thing.
Yeah.
So we're sitting there, and and so we looked again. But at that point, I mean, the tide has come up and back, and I'm like, it's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone. So we're literally just starting to have the conversation. I think he was the one who said it. It was so kind, but I'm just crushed. He says, well, we need to make a plan to call insurance when we get home.
Yep.
I'm like, it's not the money. I don't care. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not gonna get this same ring back.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm still mopey. And I will never forget this moment. I can't actually believe it's real that I'm sitting here telling you this story.
Yeah.
It seems like I've made this up. So we've had this conversation, and he can tell I'm just emotionally not having it. So he's like, yeah, well, let's just sit. Let's just sit. And I look over this angle. I mean, I'm like, and I see a sparkle. It's the beach, though, right? So there's all
Right,
kinds of
yeah,
weird
yeah.
little, but there is something about that sparkle. So I don't say anything. And I get up, and I walk over there. I don't know if I almost threw up, I almost fainted, I reached down and I pick
And
up
there it was.
my ring. It was
Wow.
3 feet from us. I mean, it was like the most bizarre, amazing, inbreaking of heaven kind of, and I stand there for a minute and I think I started to sob, and he looks at me and he's like, what? He didn't even know what was happening
Yeah.
at first. And I'm just holding it, I can't even speak. He said, is that your ring?
That's amazing. And I was actually very curious about that story because I have it's a different story, but it's similar. It's in the same vein. My dad actually lost his wedding ring, and unfortunately we didn't find it. But we were at Lake Chelan, and we were at a cabin up there, and me and my dad loved looking for rocks in
yeah.
the water in the
Yeah,
lake.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
had my goggles on, and we were out, way deep, and it was the same thing. I saw that little sparkle. I'm down there, so I go, okay. So I keep my eyes out, and I go up, I take a breath, and just shoot right back
Plunge
down.
back
And
down.
It was deep. It was deep.
Yeah.
So I go down, and sitting on like this rock was just like this perfect wedding ring.
No.
And just like, so I grab it, and I'm like almost out of breath, so I shoot up.
Yeah.
And my dad was like, he was looking at me like, what? Like,
What is
'cause
going on?
He's like, you're pretty far out there. He knew that I just had like this quick breath down.
Yeah.
He didn't see me for a while,
Yeah.
so he's like nervous. And I just swim up to him and I just set it on like on the deck, and he's like, no way. And so then he uses that as his wedding ring ever since.
Literally like a gift.
Yeah.
Because who's gonna,
Yeah, and
Who knows how long?
on one end it was maybe somebody who had lost theirs, right? But it's like, lost
but they
and
didn't,
found,
right, and they didn't recover it. And
So it's better that it's on somebody than in the bottom of the lake.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
that's
So,
beautiful.
Yeah, so I can relate to that story,
Yes.
and I'm glad you found it. It's a beautiful ring. by
Thank
the
you,
way.
I think so too.
Just getting engaged. I'm now
I
more
know.
inclined to look at wedding
Yeah,
rings
they're
and,
more
like,
curious,
yeah,
right?
Right.
Shall we?
Yeah, let's get on to the
I can't
last
believe
step.
this.
All right.
Here we
cheers.
go. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Starts to roll
Yeah.
once it goes.
But at least that one has a little bit of like some redeemable flavor.
It does have a
I'll
little
say.
more flavor. Yeah,
Um,
this one, I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, that one's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, we've been through a journey. We have this question that we ask everyone at the end of this. You've had quite a journey here at NU and continue on. But looking back at your time, what has been one of your favorite memories here at NU?
there's so many. I mean, really. There are several shows that rank up there for me. I'll just kind of working backwards. Silent Sky that we did this last fall was a huge favorite for me. We did a show several years ago called The Women of Lockerbie, which was really a favorite. We did a musical called Quilters. That's not the big, it's got beautiful stories of real pioneer women. The Diary of Anne Frank. But I will say, one of my favorite memories, it's one that you actually know well. I won't name names,
Okay.
but it happened recently. And it's one that is so deeply imprinted on me and speaks to everything that I think is right and good and beautiful about the world and about this place, about NU. The end of spring semester, NU has a awards and honors chapel in which various awards and recognition are given to students. And a particular student who has become quite beloved among the student body here for a lot of reasons, earned a Student Servant Award. And part of what was so lovely is the entire chapel just erupted in joy for this student. But, and I know you know this, the moment I got to witness, I had come into the chapel late, so of course I'm lurking, I call it lurking, along the back wall.
Yeah.
You all know what that is.
Yep.
And so I happened to be standing at the very back, but on the side that this student stood up. And in front of this student was another student who I know quite well. And the student that won is a male student, and the student that was sitting a couple rows in front of him was a female student. And when the name was called, the female student jumped up like lightning fast, faster than literally anyone else around, spun around in her seat, and she knew exactly where this other student, the one receiving the award, was sitting. I can hardly say it without even choking up now. And she had on her face the most extraordinarily excited expression because she was so proud of this student and so just overjoyed. And she herself was receiving an honor that day. And I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that more important than anything anyone said about her was that moment that she could celebrate this friend. And that will forever, for me, be one of the most vivid expressions of an inbreaking of the kingdom of God. I mean, I really felt like there's the kingdom, and I got to witness it for that moment.
Yes.
It was, it's everything I think we aspire to be.
Yeah.
As a community.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's so beautiful. And I love that that's one of your favorite memories here. I think that says so much about you and your character and what you do here at Northwest, and we're so thankful to have you. The last thing for us to do is just to roll out the red carpet for you, this camera, that camera, tell the people what you got going on, what's exciting in life, what's next.
Yeah, well, we announced that I'm in this new position, Director of Academic Success and Advising. Prior to that, I was full-time faculty member, and I'm really pleased that I was recently elected by the faculty to remain a faculty member. And we have a couple precedents of that. So Sandy, our registrar, is staff, but she's also faculty. Our librarians are staff, but they're faculty. So it's not totally unusual. And that means that I get to kind of keep a foot in both worlds, which means a lot to me because I really do love teaching. First up, but the big thing coming up in my new position now is our very first SOAR, which is our Summer Orientation and Advising and Registration event. And our department really runs that, and I hope my staff is prepared for, this feels like my jam, where we get to welcome, and I've already told them, I'll present all day long. But if you would like to have some of the, presenting moments, I'm happy to share, but it feels like that's a sweet spot for me. So I'm really excited to welcome our new students and see what growth is ahead for NU.
Me too. All right, well, Chrystal, thank you for being on the show.
Thanks, Eli. Woo!